lover, dreamer, artist, haughty, a deadly serious interview with Paul Klee.
So Paul, when were you born and what kind of upbringing did you have?
I was born on the 18th of December 1879, a few days after Bach's premiere Tragic Overture. My father's passion for music was extensive, but he never cared for this work, probably because of the tragedy that he portrays so beautifully. As a teenager, my mind started to wander to visual arts, and I was lucky enough to be accepted into the Academy of Fine Arts in Munich.
So how old were you at the start of World War I and what were you doing before the outbreak of the war?
I was 35 when war was announced. My artistic breakthrough came just before the war in 1914. Actually, the aspect of color engorged me so much. It became a part of me. I no longer chased after it. It had a hold on me forever. I dove headfirst into abstraction to the distaste of my parents. I joined an editorial team. Into abstraction to the distaste of my parents. I joined an editorial team that year of the journal Der Blaureiter. This is when I carried out my intense color experimentation. In the Quarry is a good example of this.
What did you do during World War I?
Unfortunately, I was conscripted to view the horror of the war in my own eyes. Germany's young and talented were dying in the trenches.
What were you doing when the war ended? Where were you?
I continued to paint. What else would I do, stupid woman? My career really took off in 1970. If I can say myself, my work was going down a treat. I spent many weeks in my studio working on Ab Oval, one of my personal favorites from this time. I used a chalk ground and watercolor. It makes a gorgeous texture.
What are your key interests and how do they influence your artwork?
I believe that the material world is only one among many realities. As a window into that philosophical principle, I use my art. Music is also key. Sometimes I even practice my violin to warm up. Music and art go hand in hand for me. To me, the visual rhythms in drawing resemble that in music. I make sure my students at the Bauhaus knew this. Moreover, the art of children was highly influential to me. Their lack of social boundaries is riveting.
So who are your favourite musicians?
I love the work of Bach. I also enjoy the work of Murillo. I am a classically trained violinist, thanks to my music teacher father. Sometimes I even play violin before I paint. It's almost a warm-up, if you will. I even had an invitation to play with the Burton Music Association at aged 11. Ha ha! Not to brag. Ha ha ha! I even married Lily Stumpf, the classically trained pianist, in 1904. I suppose you could say she's one of my favorite musicians. Ha ha ha.
Who were your greatest artistic comrades in the years following World War I?
Hans Gotz was always a great man to me, a talented dealer in art. His gallery gave me lots of exposure. I was also very close to my comrades in Die Blaureiter, Feininger, and von Jawlensky. We lectured and exhibited together. making us grow extremely close. I was also rather close with Kandinsky after teaching with him in the Bauhaus after 1924.
Could you please explain Die Blaue Wehr for us?
To be honest, us four artists wanted to create a certain niche to label ourselves under, so we could sell our artwork together. The color blue just means so much to us. My artistic comrade Kandinsky did writings on the spiritual realms of color, especially blue. Blue represents the unknown, what we can see but we can't touch, the sea, the sky. We arranged blue for exhibitions in cities around the world, and it was brilliant for our careers.
Who influenced you most in your work as an artist?
The work of children. As I said before, it is so organic and untainted. It is free of previous examples. I sometimes try to replicate the untouched simplicity of a child's work in my own. Me and children both have a love for intense color. And of course, the work of my fellow Bauhaus artists, my fellow teachers and students which I learned so much about myself from. And of course, the expressionists who lived through the terrors of the war, and as did I, and created something beautiful from it.
And what would you say your greatest achievement was before 1935 or perhaps death?
Death and Fire was one of the last paintings I ever did. Whilst I was painfully dying and my body was being eaten away, I am also proud of the people I have influenced during my years teaching in the Bauhaus, and movements I have helped pioneer such as Die Blaue Wehr. And as I said, having exhibitions with my three comrades in many cities around the world, I have lived through the suppression of Hitler and was able to make successful art through it and after it.
And lastly, Paul, what will your legacy be?
My legacy will be my influence I've had on many movements such as surrealism, expressionism and cubism. My legacy will be what I have passed down to my students in the Bauhaus. My legacy will be shared with all those people and movements. My legacy will also be tied to the incredible legacy of the Bauhaus and the story of the suppression and anguish we went through. My legacy will be of an honorable man who fought in the Great War, risking his life, a loving husband and father, a great modern artist and color theorist, and a talented musician.
Oh!